We're talking RazzSlam and Best Ball leagues here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Hope you'll join us. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, sponsored by WinBet. Clay Link here with Todd Zola of RotoWire and Masters Ball. Going to be focusing on best ball leagues today. We talked so much about Roto, Todd. Good to give those best ball formats some love.
Yeah, and there was a couple of threads on Twitter, and this happens every year, that people, complain that best ball doesn't get the coverage that it, commensurate with the, the number of people playing it. People don't. A lot of people in the industry don't realize that 75% of people playing this game are playing points leagues. Maybe not best ball, but they're playing points leagues. So, but there's issues with, best ball advice, if you will, because no two scoring systems are the same. We can talk general strategies, and we're going to, but you can't, when you hear a player in 5x5, Miles Straw. Well, we can go on forever about Miles Straw and the speed and the lack of homers, but points is points in best ball and points leagues. Not just that, Fantrax, ESPN, Yahoo, CBS, NBC, RTS, they all have different systems. So you can't, unless you're intimate with one system, you can't compare two players, in general, because we don't know the points system. So, but we're going to do our best to talk general strategies and a little bit of humble bragging about our first and second place RazzSlam teams come the season end.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but your team probably will be there. You guys are flying along in your draft. Congratulations! You're through 29 rounds.
Yeah, I may be making a pick. It's almost as if this peer pressure, and there isn't, but it feels like there's peer pressure because once the draft goes fast, you don't want to be the guy to slow it down. This is just a good room. There's no pressure on anybody. Mm-hmm. Someone takes 10 minutes and they're apologizing, and it's, somewhat tongue in cheek. But I'm jinxing myself because now with karma, the TGFBI. Well, I just said the TGFBI. That's the TGFBI. No, the starts on, because the T is starts on Monday, and I'll probably be in a slow draft or slow room to make up for this one today, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm only through 10 rounds myself, but I admit I've kind of been slow on a couple picks too, so I'm kind of dragging down the average pick time. But yeah, you're through 28. I'm only through 10, but we'll still be comparing teams, revealing our picks and whatnot. But you alluded to it, Todd. In Roto, it's so important to have balance, especially if you're chasing an overall contest. Far less important in a points league or in a head-to-head league. And I generally say throw steals out the window, because whatever points they're getting you, it's not worth the trade-off from the other skills and the other stats. Do you kind of throw balance out the window as well in these leagues, or is it still important to have some shred of balance?
No. Well, the only balance is hitters to pitchers. And kind of alluded to before, it depends on the scoring system. Fantrax is very heavy pitching. NFBC Cutline and RazzSlam, which we'll talk about, emulates the standard 5x5. And I know pitching's getting boosted up in NFBC right now, but it's not the same. It's not to the same level in the best ball format. So, but you talk about steals. I mean, points is points. You take your expectation, you convert them to points. But the different, so a guy who steals gets points, etc. I think, however, because of the nature of the stolen base category, I think there's a little more variance. Like when you're projecting a home runs, he's going to get between, let's say someone's going to get 20, right? You say between 17 and 23. I don't know. If someone's going to get steals, 20 steals, you're like, well, he can get anywhere from 14 to 25. I think there's more of a range. So there's more downside, there's more upside, but between opportunity and your team is out of it, so you just don't want to run anymore, or just the opposite, that your team is out of it, so there's no reason not to run. I think there's more variance around steals. So if you like to play it safe and just lock in players to give you points, give me the power.
Yeah, it feels like in a roto league, whenever your pick comes up where you're going to be taking some speed, feels like you're always sacrificing something else for that speed, or there's at least some sort of trade off. I don't see, the point in sacrificing anything for the steals in a points league. I just feel like whatever they're worth, it's not enough to compensate what you're losing in homers, power, and runs scored. So at least generally that's the case. But let's get into your picks so far in the Raz Slam. How did you start things off? Who was your first pick, and where were you picking in your draft?
Picking 6. Now, I posted my team on my Twitter account, TODDZOLA, if people want to follow along or go back to it. If you're listening to us after we recorded it, you hit pause and go find it. But yeah, I picked picking 6th. I picked Jose Ramirez, and I tried to do a somersault, but wasn't physically able.
Yeah, you had to be pretty pumped getting the top third baseman there where you did.
Yes.
He pretty darn good player, and that's a tough position to figure out. Obviously, in best ball, you're going to have a lot of options potentially covered, but you have to feel great knowing that your third base is going to be accounted for pretty much every week.
Yep.
Because he's a really, really good player. So then you went, Albies, and then Will Smith. So you were driving the early catcher train here.
I am it's not so much the points, it's more of the format. That 12-team mix, 2 catchers, the catcher bump is just silly. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of playing with the market, try to judge when the room is going to draft catchers. And I kind of wanted Smith. I passed on Sal Perez, who went, I believe, in the second. I think there's some risk around Sal Perez. I think the power is real, but we just don't know how real. And is he going to play 160 games again, et cetera? So I wanted to go in on catching, but I didn't want to incur the Sal Perez second round risk. So I was very, very happy when Will Smith was there in the third.
I also took Will Smith of the Dodgers in the third in mine. And I'm coming around to, obviously this was a 12-team, best ball, but main events, Will Smith in the third, I'm open to it.
Well, the best ball nature, I think I'm not into Will Smith in the third in a main event in a roto, but the other aspect of best ball, now this has nothing to do with the catcher bump. It's more of best ball game theory. Is you're looking for players to excel and jump in your active lineup. I think there's a better chance that one of your backup infielders or backup outfielders crushes it and makes the active lineup than if you wait on catchers and how often will a low end catcher, Tom Murphy, really have a great. I want to lock in really, really good production from my catcher and let the luck help me in the other spots.
I think Will Smith will be DHing quite a bit.
Yep, there is that too. Now, you took Will Smith, you said, did you do like I did and like every 5 minutes make sure you took the catcher, not the pitcher?
No, because on my roster thing in the top right-hand corner, I see Will Smith.
I'm still paranoid. I'm still checking to make sure the TGFBI standings haven't changed from 2019.
You got to be sure you came out on top, but I know you did, Todd. But yeah, after Will Smith, before that, you went with a third baseman and a second baseman with your first 2 picks before Will Smith.
No.
A third baseman in Jose Ramirez,
right,
and the second baseman in Albies. I went with back-to-back outfielders in Bryce Harper and Mookie Betts. Maybe I wish I could have that one back because maybe the steals, I overweighted them in my mind at that point. But it kind of goes with a general draft philosophy I'm taking this year, and that's loading up on outfielders early. I know you could attack it with volume in a league like this, but even if you got 5 of those spots to fill every week, and even if some of your late guys hit in a given week, I still think if you have 5 really good outfielders, you're going to have a leg up on the competition.
Yeah, I mean, we can go, it's not all about me and my team, but people that take a look at it will see that outfield is definitely a weak spot. And it wasn't by design. It was just when Albies came up in the second round, I mean, I had him at the top of my list. And yes, you can attack second base with volume, get Colton Wong and Cesar Hernandez and Jonathan Scope and hope one of them has a really good week that week. But I kind of I didn't mind getting rid of what I consider the two hardest positions to fill, second base and third base, get them off the board, and then, fill in later. So I had no issues with it. And then it just turned out that, the outfield, the really good outfielders were kind of gone. And I knew there was a pocket later where I'd be able to kind of like peg the outfielders kind of consecutively. Again, I'm not getting the guys that you get, but I will get, I'm lacking a 1 and 2. It's kind of like how I do pitching in Roto is you're going to beat me 1 and 2, but I'm going to try to beat you 3 to 5.
I hear you. I mean, I think attacking outfield with volume can work, but I feel like even when things go right, I'm still going to have a leg up on most teams, and that may give me an edge over the course of a full season. Having Harper, Betts, and I took Bellinger as well. So I feel like that's something I want to do in most leagues. Plus, my best year ever, the year I won the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational, I did the same thing. I went with, I think, Yelich, Stanton, I think it was JD Martinez, Stanton, and Yelich. So I went 3 straight outfielders, and that worked pretty well. So.
Yeah, I would say.
So I'm going to try to do something similar because I feel like generally I've been undervaluing outfielders and ending up with too many platoon bats in the outfield, and it's tough to make up that ground when you have too many part-time outfielders. So, Todd, moving back to your particular draft, how did you follow up those first 3 picks?
Paul Goldschmidt was next, and again, it was somewhat best player, highest ranked player available. But I like the volume, I like the consistency. I want to have someone that's going to lock down the spot, and then I will take chances to get my corner infield and utility, that sort of thing. So I don't mind at all having a Paul Goldschmidt. I should call it my draft to see what outfielders I may have passed on to get a Goldschmidt. I think that would be an interesting to look at. So in the 4th round, going this way, so Mullins, Jimenez, and Springer kind of went right before me, and I probably would have gone there. The next pick was Starling Marte. What if he doesn't steal? The next pick is Byron Buxton. I know that the two of us are replacing lists on the fantasy radio show, but I'm not going to be picking up Byron Buxton. Sorry, guys.
Buxton guy.
Sorry, guys. Then was Stanton, then was Whit Merrifield, and then was Winker. So I think you can. I don't think there's an outfielder that you go like you went. Why didn't Zola take that outfielder instead of Paul Goldschmidt? So maybe Marte, who knows? But I think that was justified at that point.
Then you followed up with Javier Baez, and I'm wondering how you kind of weighed, the poor plate discipline and how he's affected by the best ball scoring and the multi-positional eligibility he brings to the table.
Well, I pencil him in at shortstop. I did not have a shortstop yet, but he does have eligibility. I mean, we can talk general roster construction in a best ball if you want a little bit later. But I guess that was a pretty risky pick. I'll cop to that for sure. I think he's going to run in Detroit, and the power shouldn't be knocked down too much. I know that stolen base percentage isn't very good, but I don't think Detroit's going to care. So I think he was discounted a bit. He got to the point where the discount was enough for me to take the chance. So I'm okay. It's my riskiest pick so far. I went pretty ultra safe. So like I said, you kind of want to balance risk and safety. And let's see, in the 5th round, the next shortstop was Corey Seager. I think you could justify taking. I didn't have to take a shortstop, right? I mean, I could have started my pitching. I could have. I don't want to double up on second. I don't want to double up on third. But and I don't want to double up on first. I do want to go with a different position. But Merrifield was next, and then Altuve would have been a double up. Seager, I could have taken him. Winker, I thought Winker was a little bit early. So I think it's risky, but compared to what my choices were, I suppose I could have gone for Corey Seager, would have been the safer choice.
Well, this is where you start building in some flexibility, though, and I think that is important to do in these. And I was just thinking as you were saying that, you got Jose Ramirez, Albies, and then Baez. Paul Goldschmidt runs a little. At the start of the show, I mentioned that, balance isn't really important, and I don't feel the trade-off for steals is really worth it. And you were kind during that conversation, but it feels like you're pretty on the opposite end here. I mean, you loaded up on steals, so you feel like they are worth the trade-off here.
Well, keeping in mind that the scoring system emulates 5x5. So again,
steals are really boosted up for the points.
So right. So it's now the added risk is I don't feel that Ramirez's stolen bases are at risk. I don't feel that Albie's stolen bases are at risk.
And they do so much else that.
Yeah. Baez, I think, is going to outsteal if you do a formulaic and just carry stolen base opportunities and carry it over from the past. I think Baez may run more with Detroit. So that wasn't by plan, but sure, maybe there's a bit of risk because what if Ramirez tweaks his groin? He can still bat, he can still hit for power, but he doesn't run. Well, his points per week aren't going to be quite as high as they were previously. So I am taking on a bit of risk. I'll admit that for sure.
No, you didn't take your first pitcher until round 6. I did something similar. I took my first in round 5, but you think generally that's in the NFBC best ball, that's how things should go? You should load up with bats early and wait on pitching? I
believe so. And this has more to do with, first, I mean, this is the NFBC scoring. Like I mentioned, there are other formats whose pitchers relative to hitters are worth more. So I think it's a combination of the scoring and the best ball. Now, 9 is a lot of pitching. So, to be able you're not going to, I mean, I'm looking to draft 17 or 18 pitchers. So, there's going to be injuries. So, this guy gets hot and jumps in my lineup. I mean, a lot of these guys have to be in there every week. So it's not quite the same. But with the best ball, you still can draft, I don't know, Jordan Lyles. He's going to have 5 good games. He'll be in my lineup 5 weeks. We joke about Baltimore and the home runs, et cetera. You can still draft these pretty terrible pitchers, but all I'm looking for is 5 or 6 good games, and they're in my lineup. That hopefully it's not a 2-start week and they have a cruddy second start and bring it back down. But the point being, I think you can attack pitching with volume. And
I feel better about attacking pitching with volume than I do, say, 5 outfield spots.
And the other, I agree, and I kind of do them both. Other factor, we are so tuned in right now to draft and hold. There are a couple of fab sessions in this league.
Yeah,
right?
2, right?
Yeah, so there will be emerging pitching and emerging outfielders. They'll be emerging every spots where we may see more emerge. I didn't think of this till, well into the draft, but, I'm passing on Blake Trinan because I don't know if he's closing. Well, that was dumb because there was a discount on him. And if he doesn't close, I can drop him. Whereas in the draft and hold, you can't draft him. Yeah, so it took me a little bit to oh, darn it. And that's why I picked up Craig Kimbrell a little bit later. But so we have to sort of shift gears a bit and realize that you can take some shots. There's an opportunity cost of what else you could have gotten, but it's not a zero all year long.
Nice. Well, before we move on, we will pause momentarily to bring you a quick word from our sponsors. Now we are back on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by WinBet. Glad to have you with us on this Friday, talking RazzSlam and Best Ball leagues at large. My draft, Todd, I was picking from the 8 hole. I mentioned I went Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Will Smith. Then I took Xander Bogaerts. Then Liam Hendricks was still there in the 5th, so I thought, honestly, maybe I misvalued closers a little bit. I was winging it a little bit, but I thought maybe, man, Liam Hendricks is still there. I went that route. Then Josh Hader was still there on the way back. So I went Liam Hendricks, Josh Hader, 5-6. You didn't pay for one of those top closers, but you did find a pocket of closers that you liked. Emmanuel Clase, Will Smith in Atlanta, Kenley Jansen. Generally, how do you value closers in a league like this? Are we making too much of a correction and bumping them down from a standard league?
I think so. Now, the way I approach it is I don't want just one or two closers. If I'm going to go the closer route, I want 4 or 5 because they get 35 saves a year. There's going to be a week to get 3. There's going to be weeks to get 0, right? The weeks to get 3, they're in your lineup.
Super valuable.
Yeah. And so if you have enough of them, there will be, 2 or 3, if you have 5 or maybe 2 that are, like you say, they get multiple saves that week. So if I just have 1 or 2 and they both, get 0 saves or whatever it might be, now I'm relying on my starters to pick up the back end, and that's a little nerve-wracking. But if I've got 4 or 5 and I consider pretty good closers, I'm fairly confident that 2 of them, 3 of them will make my lineup. So I'm kind of a all or nothing guy when it comes to closers. And you alluded to it before. They get discounted in this format. If I find that I can take advantage of the soft room as far as closers go, I will jump all over it. So that's
I'm so used to seeing Hendricks and Hader go 2-3, even 1-2 turn in some crazy leagues. That when they were there 5-6, I thought, because they do so much else for you besides get saved.
Right now, especially in this format, right? Yeah. I wasn't against taking them, but I just think people took them a little ahead of me.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, I just was kind of shocked to see them still there, and there were some other options I liked on the board offensively, but I didn't have a pitcher yet after 4, and I thought instead of getting one of these, good but not great starters, maybe I'll just go the elite reliever route in this league.
Let me control F Hader and see where he went so he went in the 6th.
Yeah, I got him in the 6th too. So
right, so and Hendricks went in the 6th. Now they went before. No, they hadn't. It was the comeback, so I hadn't drafted yet in the 6th. I would have taken them over Nola, but they both went.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that combo. Then my first starter was Dylan Cease, another guy who, high whip, but I think in the league like this with the K's and that division, I'm just getting his best starts, not getting his worst. So give me Dylan Cease in this format. I love him in this format.
Yeah, you're not looking to balance the categories where, oh no, high whip, I get it, but he has a low ERA. The run prevention helps your points to offset a little bit more traffic. So yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like his command will leave him on occasion. There'll probably be a few bumps in the road that are really ugly and maybe skew things. But if I'm just getting his best 20 starts, I love it. And I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about maybe I use him in a tough matchup, maybe I don't.
Right, and a couple of those are going to be 14 strikeouts, right? Where you just just rules the lineup that week.
I'm wondering, Todd, did you draft Cody Bellinger in any leagues? I'm not seeing him on your RazzSlam team, but
I do not. No, I do not believe I have Bellinger yet. I am not. I am Team Yelly over Team Belly over Team Yelly.
Yeah,
but I don't happen to have either of them yet. I haven't done as many drafts. I don't know. So Bellinger went the last pick in the 6th round here.
I got him in the 7th.
Yeah, so
sounds about right.
And I think it has to do with, I've mentioned it a few times, I'm not drafting pitching early. So these are the rounds where I'm trying to, I'm going to, not do so well starting 1 and 2, but this is where I need to pick up my pitching. It not so much this draft, but in 5x5, I'm looking at Alek Manoah here. I'm looking at starters, Sean Manaea. I'm looking at pitchers like that, where Bellinger is usually going.
Yeah, in these best ball leagues, now granted, these aren't really, in my wheelhouse necessarily. These aren't my strong suit, but Man, I like the idea of grabbing a guy like Bellinger and getting pitchers in this range after you load up with bats early. I like getting into the starters in this range, but I think I'm going to make room for Bellinger in more leagues because this is the first team I've drafted him on, but I'm kind of buying into him, like maybe not best shape of his life, but having like a good off season and kind of turning things around a little bit for himself. So I think Bellinger is going to be on my list moving forward. You mentioned Manoah. I got him in the 10th, and another guy like with Cease, where there'll probably be some bad bumps in the road, but give me the upside with his good starts.
No, I'm all over Alek Manoah this year because, again, when more of 5x5 strategy, when I'm not taking the Garrett Coles and the Walker Buehlers, I'm behind in strikeouts. I can manage the ratios to catch up, but I need strikeout pitchers a little bit later on. Of course, they're more ratio risk, but so to make up the strikeouts, I have to draft them and then try to manage the ratios down. So Manoah has been a pretty steady target in the drafts that I've done.
So looking at your pitching staff, you got Nola, Barrios, Emmanuel Clase, Sean Manaea. You got both Will Smiths, by the way.
Yep.
Bailey Ober, who I know you've been touting, Marco Gonzalez, Jameson Tyone. How many pitchers do you expect to end up with when it's all said and done?
Yeah, so I don't know what your general plan is for the RazzBall. I like to do the cut lines. So I use the same plan. And the difference between the cut line and this is cut lines are 10 teams and these are 12. I still have the same plan. I'm just filling it with lesser players. But I shoot for around 17 pitchers and maybe I go for 4 catchers, 6 middle infielders, 6 corners, 9 outfielders, and then around 17 pitchers. With a caveat, we talked about Javier Baez. He's second in shortstop. He counts twice towards my 6 middle infielders. So the more multiple eligibility players I grab, the more I can sort of double up at some other or add coverage at other spots. Mm-hmm. And pitching and outfield is the place where I'm going to be looking for my 10th outfielder, where I normally may have 9, right? Or looking for extra players at pitcher. I normally shoot for 17. I may have 18 or 19 because I'm able to grab, knock on wood, multiple eligibility guys previous. And I did. I grabbed Joey Wendell and Eugenio Suarez along with Baez, and I did grab Tsutsugu for first base and outfield. All right, I grabbed Alfaro, who's catcher and outfield. I'm not counting him in the outfield. If he has a great week and happens to make him my 5th outfielder one week, okay. Maybe Nola gets hurt and he plays 4 days a week or something. But when in my math, Alfaro, I'm not including him as one of my outfielders as far as coverage goes.
My draft board through 10 rounds, I don't have a single multi-eligibility player. Cody Bellinger's not anymore, is he?
Nope. But with Max Muncy hurt, maybe, we don't know.
Yeah,
at the beginning of the year. Although Bellinger's really grown into a very good center fielder, right?
And they have Edwin Rios, who could maybe play first.
Right.
If Muncy's forced to miss a little time.
Right.
But do you think this is a mistake for me? Am I going to have to prioritize multi-positional eligibility? Or is it kind of do you think I can make do without a ton of those guys?
Well, look where I got. The guys I just mentioned. I got Wendell on the 24th.
Yeah.
I got Suarez in the 19th. They're there, right? I got Tsutsugo in the 27th. So up until I started taking them, I only had Baez. And okay, it's nice that he has second base, but in order for him to be at second base, it just has to mean that Wendell or Suarez just had a ridiculously good week, right? So I'm actually kind of nervous that I wish I had better coverage at shortstop with Baez as my top guy. So I may try to sneak in. I'm going to have to see who's available. I may have to use one of those kind of free, air quote, free spots because of my multiple eligibility for a shortstop guy. Now I'm looking, Paul DeYoung maybe There's some people that have DeYoung on a bounce back list. So maybe a Paul DeYoung, Miguel Rojas, and Gregorius. And so I'm kind of I don't have a lot of darts to throw at the shortstop position. I kind of just box myself into that hole. But we'll have to see. But again, though, there's Fab. You never know.
Yeah, those 2 Fab dates are important. I think I missed one last year, but then I spent like all 1,000 the second one. I'm going to try to not miss the first one this year. I'm going to try to get Luis Urias this next round, I think, because, again, I don't have a multi-positional eligibility. He brings 3-position eligibility to the table, and that'd be pretty nice. And then maybe I could get a guy like Josh Rojas to build in a little bit more. So, yeah, there are some players, but through 10 rounds without a single multi-eligibility guy does make me a little bit nervous here, to be frank. Todd, let me ask you a little bit about some of the guys still available in my league. Not for selfish reasons, not like, to gauge how I should be who I should be taking next. But, we talked about some of those catchers that we were drafting. We took Will Smith early. Adley Rutschman's still there. And in these leagues where you don't have to, you don't have to wait, you don't have to, time them well as far as when you're using these guys, you just get the best of the best. Should Adley Rutschman be gone already? Should he be going soon?
I think that, we have to, maybe, when we do rankings, there's a flaw in valuation. It assumes the player is active every week of the year and no one else fits in that spot. So if Rutschman doesn't start, he's penalized overall. But on a per week basis, so what I think you need to do if you draft an Adley Rutschman is draft your third catcher pretty early so that you have somebody pretty good to make up for those weeks. And then you have a really good backup and you really don't need your fourth catcher till much, much later. Or maybe you just, take whoever you feel is going to be Baltimore's main catcher, and not all that great, but, you go that route and you try to pair him up because, right now it's Jacob Nottingham. I don't know.
Well, I think I put him on the depth chart just because he was on a minor league deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe they bring in, I'm trying to think, Kurt Suzuki's available. I'm trying to think of some, Wilson Ramos, who I wouldn't want them to bring in because he's not very good, but maybe they bring in a veteran. Yeah, I can't see them. I can't see it being Nottingham. So unfortunately that narrative doesn't work so well with Rutschman. On the other hand, though, it does kind of say, who else would they use? Maybe they just have it preconceived that they're just going to use Rutschman whenever Chirinos is out there, who's not a terrible catcher. Maybe they just figure they're going to use Rutschman early on. Yeah, who knows? Yeah,
I think. Well, we still don't know how the service time situation is going to be.
Yeah,
changed if at all. But yeah, it's going to be tough to figure out. Now you took. You mentioned you waited in the outfield. You took Hunter Renfroe, Lourdes Gurriel, Avisail Garcia, Mark Canha, Mike Yastrzemski, Connor Joe. So yeah, you will have to load up with outfielders. Can you tip your hand and mention some of the ones you're maybe targeting? I don't want to make you give away too much.
That's fine. I know they're listening too because people have asked me for the link and whatever. My fantasy life's an open book. What I try to do in Best Ball, I try to do it in 5x5 too, but it's just less effective. I try to find rankings are rankings. Again, they average things out. Someone like I think Tyler Naquin's already gone, so I can talk about him without tipping my hand. I love a guy like Tyler Naquin in this sort of a league because he checks two of my boxes, and the boxes are: give me a reason in a particular week he's going to just be above his normal. If you take his expectations, his points, and divide by 26, whatever the number is, 100, I don't know, whatever the number is. There will be weeks where he's 120. There'll be weeks when he's 70. I want the 120 weeks. He's a left-handed hitter. So the weeks that he's facing a lot of righty pitching and the weeks where the Reds have 7 games at home. because it's such a good hitting park. So I try to find players that will have some kind of an edge in a given week.
And that's kind of Connor Joe in that regard.
Exactly. Exactly.
Coors Field games.
I just picked up Cole Calhoun. Now, the park edge isn't nearly as significant as it was in previous years, but he's probably playing every day for Texas. And when he faces a few righties, I kind of like it. Even Tsutsugo has got a pretty strong, or got the platoon on his side. Yastrzemski, I don't like the park, but actually he's pretty good against lefties too. Kana, there's no platoon. It's just he's playing every day. So once we get to I got 2 Miami outfielders, Garcia and Kana. Hope for a lot of wind blowing out in Miami.
Well, Kana's with the Mets.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. So I hope
same division.
Not just that, the park is. I was thinking in my head, there's two parks I don't
spacious
like,
parks,
but they're playing right. They're both playing every day. So what I try to do at this point is find outfielders that, for one reason or another, I feel they have an edge. I mean, looking who's still available: Hunter Dozier, Pavin Smith, Manny Margot, Rafael Ortega. I don't know that any of
pretty darn ugly there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And now we're into my backups, though. Fortunately, I'm looking for my 8th. You're looking at it like you've got 3 out. But I've got.
I'm in the 10th. I'm in the 11th round.
Yeah, I got 7 or 8 outfielders already. So we're looking. I've got. Well, okay, Alfaro's there, so I've got 8 outfielders already. So I'm not. It's not. They're not so bad. Once you've already got this many. So, but I like Ortega because he plays every day, but there's some risk there because will he continue to run? Cycling back to what we talked about earlier on, because some of the numbers are from speed. Pavin Smith, I guess I need to review the Arizona depth chart a little more, because if I feel he'll play against every single right-handed pitcher, then he fits this category. He fits the platoon mode. Mm. I don't like the park. Yeah. Jock Peterson, David Peralta. These are all guys I should be looking at because of the splits. Manny Margot is Jason Collette's dart, because if Kiermaier is traded, Margot's suddenly a regular. Hunter Dozier's on the list, and I can't. He's not in my. I know my list. It's somewhere else, but I'm looking at the ADP of what's there. I can't give a good justification for taking Hunter Dozier. So
yeah, that's a tough one.
So he won't be on my list.
I was going to question you being a Connor Joe guy, but realistically, in this format, you don't have to be. He's one of a slew of outfielders who, when he has a good game at Coors, he'll get in your lineup. It's not really like it's not really an endorsement of Connor Joe.
No, to say that he crushes it at Coors is not a surprise. To say that he hit righties better than lefties is not a surprise. But, so he just, and I think he'll play. I think that I don't see Colorado. I mean, there's some, what if Kyle Schwarber, I don't see Colorado making that move. So I think Connor Joe will play. Now, last year, he filled in for Crone when he got hurt, and then he filled in with Tapia when he got hurt. With the DH, I think they'll find a spot. And he was good defensively at both spots. He could be better at first base than Crone, to be honest. He could be a better fielder.
It's just crazy how, these different variations of fantasy baseball are just different games entirely.
Oh, for sure. And
you have to treat them as such. I wrote an article for our magazine years ago about, knowing your format, and I kind of made fun of myself for years to come, because it does seem so obvious, but it really should be point A with your prep. You got to know your format and know how things change for your format.
No, for sure. And that's what we kind of alluded to it when we first started talking. That's what makes talking about points so difficult, is because the relative, one player to another is different per format. And all right, so we're on the radio and someone calls up and says, I'm in a points league. Should I make this trade? By the time you ask them to give you the scoring system and the number of teams, half the people listening have switched stations. It's just difficult. Whereas in 5x5, we all right, 12 teams different than 15. I mean, yeah, but still, we kind of have a general feel, right? When you hear 2 guys, you have a pretty good idea. All right, maybe ask if it's 12 or 15, but that's all you need to know. 5x5, unless they say it's an OBP league, we're kind of tuned in and we kind of can give our answer without pressing for too many details. Unfortunately, that's not the way it is in points.
Yeah, because things differ so greatly from Roto and within points leagues. The scoring systems vary so much, and it is hard. But you have to kind of push past those preconceived notions you may have playing Roto when playing and switching to a best ball points league. It can be tough changing those mindsets, and I struggle with it myself. But I'm trying to build the best team I can here in the RazzSlam, and I took Dansby Swanson. Jeff Erickson made a good point that he's one of those rare cases where he kind of broke out, and certainly in the postseason he broke out, and then his ADP drops. Like everybody hoping Swanson breaks out. Then when he finally does, nobody wants him anymore. He's boring now. But I think this is I liked him last year. I think this is still a good time to buy Dansby Swanson.
Right. I got him in an auction. I did an auction this week, my first NFBC auction this year. It's in the they call it the GTD, Greg Ambrosius, Tom Kesenek, and Derek Butcher auction. That the three of them, they can't play their own contest, but we have a private league where we get together, they play it, and so that was this week, and I picked up Swanson. I think I don't know the reason, but part of it is with Acuna being hurt for a lot of last year, Swanson moved up in the lineup. If everybody's healthy, Acuna, Albies, we'll see what Freeman does. And then with Austin Riley, establishing himself, etc., he may be pushed down the lineup. I don't think that's the reason, though. That to me, that should be the reason. I don't know what the reason is, but to me, he could lose some playing time relative to last season just because of that.
Just feels like maybe shortstop's so deep that he just gets lost in the shuffle a little bit.
There's that.
People just want another option, or they already grabbed a shortstop, so they're looking elsewhere. But just doesn't seem like the price is on par with his skills here.
Especially maybe Willy Adames is this guy, but I mean last year, this year I'm not sure. I have to think about it, but I can take a look. Last year he was like the last of the tier before you got into the next tier, and you didn't want to do that. Maybe Adames is that player this year. And so because of there's still, if I don't get Swanson, I can still get Adames. Maybe people are passing on Swanson.
Yeah, it seems like maybe they're just always wanting to address another need, and then maybe hoping Swanson's still there. But it does seem like I think his ADP is lower than it was last draft season, which is kind of hard to believe with Dansby Swanson. Well, Todd, before we move on, I have to take care of a little bit of business here. Hope you'll bear with me, and then we will be back to talk a little bit more RazzSlam and Best Ball. WynnBET is now the exclusive sponsor for RotoWire's fantasy podcasts. WynnBET brings you all the latest action with a user-friendly interface, moneyline bets, boosted parlays, over-unders, round robins, live betting, and so much more at your fingertips. Want a break from sports betting? Head into WynnBET's digital casino and take a spin on roulette, double down in blackjack, slam the slots, or try your hand at baccarat. WynnBET is currently available in 9 states: Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. While rapidly expanding at WynnBET, the possibilities are limitless. Register for WynnBET today. Make a qualifying deposit and wager to receive $200 in free bets. Promotion may vary by state. Download WynnBET now. That's WYNNBET. WynnBET, the exclusive partner for RotoWire's fantasy podcasts. Also experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is an exciting player prop fantasy contest. With Thrive Fantasy, you can eliminate the countless hours of research, focus on only the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Sign up for Thrive Fantasy today and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. Here's how you can claim your free RotoWire subscription. Visit rotowire.com/thrive. Deposit a minimum of $10 and receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Then finally play in your first paid contest and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. So Todd, as we gear up, to head into March, do you have optimism that we're going to get a full season in, or do you think Monday is going to be a day of reckoning with games? Maybe
I'm a glass 3/4 full kind of guy. I don't know if it's because my vocation, my hobby, and my passion are all the same thing. So I don't know how much of this is being driven by I kind of have to have it.
Yeah. I'm
But
in that same boat myself.
I'm no longer a glass 3/4 guy. Let's call it I'm a glass 51% full guy. I'm seeing signs of, I don't know. It definitely at this point it seems like the sides are playing chicken. Now I'm not going to go all Jim Bowden and say that the players are need to completely flip. I do think they need to be. I think they need to come down. I mean, you have to realize they're not going to get what they're asking, and at least ask a little bit more reasonably. I'm pro player to the core on this, but I think they still have to be somewhat reasonable about their asks. I don't know. I actually just tweeted this out. I don't know enough about the ins and outs and what's going on and the legalese and all that stuff, but it just seems to me from where I sit, the ability to pull expanded playoffs off the table, isn't that just a huge hammer?
For the players?
Yeah, I mean, MLB has got, I didn't say the MLB, MLB has got a contract for playoff coverage that assumes more teams. So, I mean, it's like you when you do a fantasy trade, assuming, that you made a trade, assuming you were going to make this other trade, and this other trade falls through, and you can't even set a legal lineup now. It's like, you kind of, to me, I don't know. So maybe I'm overplaying. Maybe that card isn't as strong as I think, but it seems to me, you want to talk about leverage and power. That's kind of the biggest chip of either side. I know the owners can say, you don't get paid, but I don't know. So I guess I'd like to think at some point they put that card out. I know it's been reported that MLBPA has said that they will in fact not accept expanded playoffs if MLB cancels games, but I don't think it's been out there as strong as the MLB proclamation about losing games. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just holding my breath for Monday. I mean, this is it. I mean, this is the time we all dreaded coming into this in December and before that, the possibility of canceled games. And they've said that those games will not be made up. So,
well, they can't unsay it, right? There's no reason.
True. If they don't, Monday they've set as their deadlines. We'll just have to wait and see. Anything else? Oh, I'm sorry.
Obviously, Monday's the deadline to start the season. It doesn't mean they'll stop talking. It just means that there could
be canceled games if no deal by Monday.
Yeah.
Anything else, Best Ball or RazzSlam related on your mind?
I think, you know what? We talk a lot of TGFBI, and it gets a lot of headlines and a lot of love. I mean, I think, let's give a shout out to Rudy and Gray and the guys over in Donkey Teeth over at RazzBall for putting this thing together. I think it's kind of cool. It's a growing segment of the fantasy landscape. We talked about it big time at the first pitch in Arizona. We had a seminar on it. It was a lot of buzz. So let's give them a little bit of plaudits for having the foresight to recognize this growing portion of the industry and to put this thing together.
Yeah, no easy task to organize this many leagues and overall contests like this. So yeah, thanks to all the guys at RazzBall for this. It's, as I mentioned earlier, not really like my strong suit, but that's all the more reason to play in these and get better and learn a new format. That's a little bit different for me. So I'm having fun. Hopefully my draft picks it up a little bit, but no, I've been slow too, so I can't really talk. I wanted to just say, in that first pitch Arizona speakers draft that we wrapped up, not related to RazzSlam, that's a Roto league, not a Best Ball league. But one of my last picks, I took a placeholder for Roberto Ramos, who your Red Sox signed. So I have Tristan Casas and Roberto Ramos. So I guess I'm a Bobby Dahlbeck fader in the end, which I know Derek Carty in the bat would disagree with. So he would say to go get Bobby Dahlbeck. But I think there may be an opportunity for Casas or Ramos.
I have not projected Ramos yet. There was someone that I did add on. I forget who it was. Someone that came over. I don't at this point don't remember. It was a pitcher
Dan
hitter who
Straley.
No, I had him already. There was
Nice.
someone else. I think it was a reliever. But yeah, someone who just hadn't been.
I know you have Robert Suarez.
No, yeah, someone more. Actually, I could probably figure it out if I really, really wanted to. But no, I have not. I have not projected Ramos yet. So
I mean, he may not even, get back onto a 40-man roster, but with the DH in the NL, maybe he spends spring training with the Red Sox. They release him and he signs with an NL team. That's possible too.
Oh yeah, the possibilities, as they say, are endless.
Just remember watching him in the KBO when there was no baseball in 2020 and being really impressed and kind of baffled that the Rockies just let him go.
See, I didn't get caught up in that wave, so I
had to for work, but
no. I should have, but I didn't. I didn't get caught up in that wave, but
it was a weird time.
Man, of course, yeah. Because he's a Red Sox signee, of course, I then went and checked him out, but I had no recall of Ramos with the Rockies and this, that, the other thing. So we'll see. I mean, of course, I hope Casas, crushes it and Devers does this, and we'll see what happens. But Dahlbeck, I mean, I've been saying it, and it's been kind of going. I mean, I know people don't believe me or don't care, whatever. But the difference in Bobby Dahlbeck was, I mean, obviously the strikeout drop. But if you go granular, and I may have written our site profile, I may have included in the site Outlook, but he vastly improved against off speed and breaking balls. And it wasn't just the strikeout rate. He added a couple of extra miles an hour of exit velocity against both offerings, or both types of offerings. Whether it was recognition or Kyle Schwarber getting in his ear. I mean, something. I mean, so people saying, there's no way you can keep up that strikeout drop. Well, if he did truly learn how to recognize off speed and how to recognize breaking balls better, all right, now we're back into that adjustment game. Okay, so pitchers know this, they find another weakness, and can he adjust back? But to me, we couldn't do this a few years ago because we didn't have this data. Oh no, there's no way you can keep up, with Matt Olson, there's no way you can keep up that strikeout improvement. But when you look to see where it came from, you can at least make a better educated guess as to whether it's real or what. So with Dahlbeck, I think I did look at Olson's and I don't remember what I thought, but with Dahlbeck, I'm all right. Is he going to keep the second half pace up? Heck no. But I think you can say his strikeout rate is going to be improved.
I saw his projection on Derek Carty's The Bat and The Bat X, and yeah, they're really aggressive on Bobby Dahlbeck. So maybe I'm missing something with him, but I do like Casas quite a bit in that system.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on your mind, Todd? I just want to say before we sign off, congrats to all the FSWA award winners yesterday, including our own John McKechnie for College Football Writer of the Year and Andrew Laird for Soccer Writer of the Year. Congrats to all the winners and the new additions to the FSWA Hall of Fame as well.
Yep, and I'll add a little bit and then give us both a little bit of a plug. I don't think Andy Behrens gets enough credit for the work he puts in as president of the FSWA, and so a little shout out for Andy for all you do. And I get the cat's out of the bag, as it were. Jeff and Liz had their last show yesterday on Sirius, and as Jeff likes to say, we have a very deep roster, a legion of millions to take Liz's place, and I'll be doing the Sirius show through the baseball season with Jeff on Monday and Tuesday. And I think you and James have Wednesday and Thursday, and once football starts, they'll boot us off again. But I'm looking forward to working with Jeff and getting a couple extra days of hearing me on the air. I'm going to miss Monday because I have some dental work going on. And Tuesday we're doing the Tout Wars 12-team draft with innings pitched instead of wins and saves and holds instead of saves. So we jump into that on Tuesday. Then I think we're flipping with James, so I'll be on in the middle of the week to make up for it. So just I think we both are, kind of, looking forward to poor Jeff has to break in 3 guys, not just one.
Yeah, with no baseball to talk about, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be on with Jeff on Thursdays, and then Farm Friday with James on Friday, and then James and I again on Saturdays, and then you and I on Saturdays on MLB Network Radio. So we'll have you covered. Hopefully we get games soon. We'll be continuing to preview the 2022 fantasy baseball season. Hope you'll join us next week here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, sponsored by WinBet.